15 things to never say to an atheist. Now, I'm not going to cover all 15 things. We don't have time for that. In fact, I want you to check out the video in the links below to hear from an atheist who actually put this on his YouTube channel, because I think it's really insightful, especially if you're a Christian. If you want to understand kind of how someone in that place thinks, it's really helpful for you to listen to what he has to say about it. This guy is not, sort of overly defensive or overly combative about it. Some of the stuff he says is pretty insightful. Now, obviously, if you're a Christian, you don't believe a lot of the stuff that he's saying, but still learning what he says and being sensitive to it is really helpful for you as a Christian. All right, here's one that I've used before. What if you're wrong? I admit I've said that to people who don't believe in God. And what he says is, hey, God's not going to get mad at me because I've done my research. Now, by the way, the assumption here is that Christians haven't done their research. And I hope that if you're a believer watching this, you've done your research. I hope you know that it's not just what he's, sort of saying a lot of Christians do. And he might be right about this, which is you just go to church a couple times a week or once a week and you don't really believe. You notice that those are the undertones in his video. I don't know what Christians he knows, but man, I hope that if he met me, I hope that this guy would say, there's something different about you. Paul says this in Corinthians. He says, the eyes of the ungodly, the eyes of people who don't know Jesus, they're blinded. Paul himself, his eyes were blinded. So maybe, depending on the guy or the gal, maybe it's not helpful to say, what if you're wrong? All right, what about this one? You just have to have faith. Now, in his video, he talks about how faith is almost the opposite of critical thinking. That's his assumption. Of course, again, if you're a believing Christian, I hope you recognize that faith isn't just, blind faith. Faith is much more than that. But notice from his perspective, from an atheist perspective, faith stands opposite reason. So keep that in mind. Maybe be careful about using the word faith when you're sharing with an atheist. They might not know what that means, or at least they might not have the same definition as your definition. Okay, and here's one more. He mentions, isn't atheism a religion? Now, here's what I would encourage you to say instead, is to recognize that atheism is an ideology, just like Christianity is an ideology. Now, Christianity is also a world religion, but there's an ideology behind Christianity, just like there's an ideology behind atheism. Now, maybe they'll receive that a little bit better, but saying atheism is a religion, or you have faith also. Again, if you have different words and different definitions and terms, it's just not helpful. Sometimes you're trying to be helpful and you're not. You're being combative. You don't mean to be, but it might come across that way. So one more thing. At the end of his video, he says, don't say those things. It's offensive. It's disrespectful, and it shows that you assume a lot of things about us before you really have a relationship with us. So here's the takeaway, as far as I'm concerned, and you can talk about this with a group or a mentor. The takeaway is, atheists, if you have an atheist friend, they want a relationship with you. They don't want you to give them a bunch of answers or apologetics, right? So that's what I would encourage you to do. Have a relationship with the person that you're trying to reach and share Christ with.